Our scripture this morning is from Genesis, chapter 32, verses 22 to 30. And he rose up in the night and took his 2 wives, his 2 maidservants, and his 11 sons, and led them to the desert of Jabbok. And he took them and he brought them over a brook, and then he brought across everything that he had. And Jacob was left alone. And there was a man, he wrestled with him until daybreak. And when the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched the hollow of his thigh. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint. And he wrestled with him further. And the man said to him, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." And Jacob said, "I will not let go unless you bless me." And he said to him, "What is your name?" He said, "Jacob is my name." He said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, the Prince of God. For you have proved your strength, wrestling with an angel and with man, and have prevailed." And Jacob asked him and said, "Tell me your name." The angel said, "Why is it you ask my name?" And the angel blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of that place Peniel, for he said, "I have seen an angel face to face, and my life is preserved." Genesis chapter 32, verses 22. So 3 nights ago, I was awoken after seeing in a dream in gold cursive letters, "Be kind to men." And I awoke with a start as being relatively rare. And I interpreted it as a crucial part of today's sermon. Because with so much strife in the world, I've been wrestling with the very real possibility that I'm able to have a spiritually oriented life because I'm just plain lucky. Lucky to have a nice upbringing, lucky to have a good education, lucky to have good health. On top of that, I am a middle-aged, middle-class American white male. Some would even conclude that as the lucky of the lucky. Perhaps if I were born into different circumstances, I would not feel it appropriate or urgent or possibly even relevant to spend time on spiritual growth. I would probably most rightfully be consumed with finding food or employment or battling racism, misogyny, or an occupying military or some other form of oppression. It makes me wonder if spirituality is at the top of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs after you have food and shelter and community and peace and equity and creativity. Then finally you're allowed a little spiritual growth. So that golden scripture, "Be kind to men," was a little astonishing. It seemed to me that gentility to the dominant is a ludicrous statement. And yet, it came in a dream. A source of information I have come to trust very deeply over the years and worthy of more reflection. As a man, a privilege, in college, another privilege, I wrestled with what did it mean to be male. There's a serious list of what a privileged male is supposed to do, from making a lot of money to making a name for yourself to being a good athlete. I've had a huge head start in this American life. I'm not a minority in any category. And yet, like Jacob, I wrestled and wrestle still with these expectations. Now, as metaphysicians, we know we don't take any messages, not from dream, not from scripture, anything literally. And I trust we know that Spirit is not suggesting that we pamper the privileged. And yet, at least societally, that's exactly what we often do. It's as if we understand that maybe there's an overwhelming list of expectations, so we pamper the dominant male. Perhaps we fear the backlash, or we don't want the attention of the bully, or maybe we enable male energy to run amok because we don't have the tools or the words or the actions to neutralize it. Now, it is so simple to jump to societal implications, and I just did it myself. Male tends to mean an immediate definition of a boss, a brother, a father, a grandfather, or an uncle, a husband or some male figure, maybe even an aggressive country. I'm going to pause for just a minute because I remember in college, I was writing a sociology paper on All Quiet on the Western Front. And I maintain, and I will still maintain, that the lesson in the book is primarily personal. How one finds life and beauty amidst the horrors of war. But my take on the classic novel was soundly rejected as not sociological enough. And I garnered a big fat D on that paper. No wonder I'm a metaphysician. I don't see how any external attribute can change until we adapt our internal minds. So inward we must go, including you. Take note as I read the typical list of male-oriented expectations. They're not exclusively male, I understand that. It's just we tend to associate them as male-oriented. See if you hold any of them accountable to your own masculine nature. Make money. Do not waver. Do not lose focus. Do not doubt. Do not get sick. Do not change careers. Do not die early. Protect the family. Stand up for the weak. Face up to the bully. Invent astonishing things. Make a name for yourself. Be a good athlete. Be fiscally wise. Strive. Never give up. Invest intelligently. Be smart, but not nerdy. Never take no for an answer. Thrive in chaos. Earn enough to retire. Don't be a burden to your children. Hold one of those in your thoughts for a moment. But stay in your own psychology. Don't expand it to societal implications. I pose that we have at least one masculine attribute with which we wrestle. Notice the internal pressure, the stress, the strife, the weight of that expectation. It's almost absurd if we think about it removed from society. Why would I do that? We can wrestle overnight or an entire lifetime with it, locking horns with a stubborn part of our male psyche. And the man said to him, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." And he said, "I will not let you go until you bless me." It's curious that in some versions of the opening scripture, Jacob wrestles with God, but not in the Lamsa, and not in the only other reference to Jacob and the angel in the book of Hosea, which I read from the Call to Worship. Jacob gets his family across the river, returns alone to face the man angel. They don't speak, they just fight. It is so male. But after a night of conflict, locked in perpetual togetherness, we hear a stunning change of tactics with the dawn's early light, with the dawn of awareness. Jacob demands that the angel blesses him, and the angel asks his name. Jacob, he replies. And he's renamed on the spot Israel, which we metaphysicians know to be the divine aspect of humanity at large. In other words, all humanity will wrestle with their own angels. Every single one. And then Jacob, Israel, mankind, asks for the angel's name, and the angel circuitously asks him why he asks. What's your name? Why do you ask? What's your name? What do you ask? It's like a cat in a mirror, as if it's obvious. You can almost see Jacob mouth the words. It's that silent recognition that they are the same. Doesn't answer because Jacob recognizes the angel as himself and garners a blessing. In that silent recognition of ourselves, we gain blessing. I have seen an angel face to face, and my life is preserved. If we can do the same ourselves, it would mean acknowledging an aggressive male-oriented trait as, yes, part of ourselves. Know its name as our own, and we are released. Know its name as our own, and we are blessed. So once again, wise spirit, maybe then we can be kind to men, meaning our internal male-oriented thought pattern. It's not hard to imagine that with this awareness, we can lighten the load, rebalance part of our lopsided psyches. We can say to our overtaxed masculinity, of which our whole planet is suffering, I see you. I see what you've taken on. I see why. I see it's heavy. I see why you think you must continue. And I can help you release it. We can be kinder to ourselves. It might mean that we have to be more forgiving as we age, or patient if some of our dreams don't come true, or we change jobs, or move, or join the Great Resignation, burn through our retirement funds, or maybe just simply stop striving so much. There's clearly another component that with a little breathing room, our feminine aspect can step up. But from my male privileged perspective, forgive me, the first step is recognizing where our masculine side is stressed out. And then we can start balancing those scales. The good news, my good friends, is that we've already shifted spiritually, globally. So the act doesn't have to be forced. It's already in motion. Eventually, society will rebalance itself. So what we can do now is stop wrestling with it. Internalize the lesson personally and let the external circumstances adapt in response. And maybe someday, inshallah, male privilege or white privilege or American privilege will simply be seen as human privilege, with the angel-given power to balance all aspects of ourselves. When we see any struggle as our own, we will indeed be blessed. And blessed.